My name is Marissa Calloway. I'm 33 years old, and 8 months ago, I sat in a conference room in a lawyer's office in Savannah, Georgia, and watched my parents hand my older sister the house, the family business, and an $800,000 trust fund, while I received nothing. You've always made things difficult, Rissa, my mother said, her voice as flat and final as a closing door. My sister Camille didn't even try to hide her smile. The attorney said nothing. I stood, looked at Camille one last time, and walked out without raising my voice. Last month, my phone rang 47 times in under an hour. When I finally picked up, my mother was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "The FBI is at Camille's house," she said. "They're saying something about wire fraud. Rissa, what did she do with all that money?" I hadn't touched a single dollar of it, but my sister, the one who was handed everything, had made choices that were about to cost her far more than she ever imagined. Before I take you back to where this all began, if you're the kind of person who believes families should be fair, hit that subscribe button on Silent Story Victory. We post a brand new, real-life inspired story every single day. Stories about family, betrayal, karma, and the quiet strength it takes to walk away. And if you've ever felt like the difficult one in your own family, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I read every single one. Let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up in Charleston, South Carolina, I was always the quiet understudy in a play where my sister Camille was the star. She was 4 years older than me, and from my earliest memories, she was the center of every room she walked into, and more importantly, the center of our parents' universe. When Camille graduated high school, my parents rented out the country club ballroom. There were string lights, a live band, and nearly 200 guests. When I graduated 4 years later with academic honors, we went to a steakhouse, just the four of us, at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday because my father had an early morning meeting. When Camille decided at 22 to stay home and help with the family's furniture restoration business, my father's small but respected workshop, Callaway Heritage Furniture, my parents bought her a brand new SUV and paid the deposit on a loft downtown. When I told them I'd been accepted into a top accounting program at the University of Georgia, my mother sighed into the phone. "We just don't have the extra money for tuition right now, Rissa. You understand." I understood. I took out loans. I worked 2 jobs, one at a coffee shop before sunrise, one tutoring high schoolers in the evenings. I graduated with a 3.9 GPA and my CPA license 18 months later. My parents didn't attend the graduation ceremony. "We can't leave the shop for an entire weekend," my mother explained over the phone. "Camille can't run everything by herself." That same weekend, Camille posted photos from a girls' trip to the Blue Ridge Mountains, wine glasses raised, laughing in front of a lake house. I moved to Atlanta after graduation, landed a position at a well-regarded accounting firm, and spent years paying off my student loans dollar by dollar, alone. I called home every Sunday evening without fail. I sent birthday cards on time. I flew back for holidays whenever I could afford the ticket. But every phone call followed the same rhythm. "How's Camille?" my mother would ask before I'd even finished saying hello. "She's working so hard at the shop." Then, almost as an afterthought, "And how are you, Rissa?" "I'm fine, Mom." "That's good. You know, Camille really could use more help. She's doing everything by herself over there." The message underneath the words was never subtle. Camille sacrificed. Camille stayed. Camille mattered. I was simply the one who had the audacity to leave. 3 years before the lawyer's office, I tried to help. My mother called one October evening, frantic about a looming tax deadline. "Rissa, you're the accountant. Can you please just look over our books? We're so far behind." I flew home that weekend on my own dime and spent a Saturday afternoon at the kitchen table, surrounded by receipts, spreadsheets, and faded invoices. That's when I noticed something strange: a string of large cash withdrawals from the business account over the past year, totaling close to $90,000. No invoices, no documentation, just a vague label scrawled in Camille's handwriting: miscellaneous. I found my mother in the living room. "Mom, I need to ask you about these withdrawals. Where did this money go?" Her face hardened instantly. That's company business, Rissa. I know, but if the IRS ever audits the shop, they're going to want documentation for $90,000 in unexplained cash withdrawals. Camille walked in at that exact moment, arms crossed. Are you seriously going through our private finances? Mom asked me to help with taxes. Helping with taxes doesn't mean interrogating us, Camille snapped. You don't work here, Rissa. You don't get to tell us how to run things. I kept my voice level. I'm only saying, if the IRS asks, you need to be able to show where that money came from and where it went. It's not optional. It's the law. My mother stood up sharply. This is exactly why we stopped asking you for help, Rissa. You always find a problem. You always make everything so complicated. I'm trying to protect you both. We don't need a lecture, Camille interrupted. We've been running this shop for 20 years. I think we know what we're doing. I closed my laptop. Okay, I was just trying to help. My mother's tone softened only slightly, but the words still cut deep. You mean well, Rissa, but you're always so paranoid. Everything is fine. I flew back to Atlanta the next morning. I never brought it up again. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning in early spring. Subject line, Family Meeting. Your attendance required. Sender, Walter Ingram, Attorney at Law. Dear Mrs. Calloway, your parents have requested a family meeting to discuss important estate matters. Your presence is required Friday at 10 a.m. at my office in Charleston. Please confirm your attendance. Estate matters. My father was 64 and healthy as a horse. My mother was 60 and ran 5 miles every morning before sunrise. Why were we suddenly discussing an estate? I texted Camille. Do you know what this meeting is about? 3 hours passed. No answer. I called my mother that evening. Mom, I just got an email from a lawyer. What's going on? Is somebody sick? No one's sick, she said briskly. We just need to go over some family business. Can you make it Friday? Can you tell me what it's about first? Friday at 10. Don't be late. Click. I booked the flight, requested the day off, and tried Camille one last time, straight to voicemail. On the plane, I let myself hope. Maybe they were finally setting up proper retirement accounts. Maybe they were talking about eventually selling the shop. And maybe, and this thought made my chest tighten in a way I wasn't ready for, maybe they were finally going to make right what our grandmother had intended all along. My grandmother, Josephine, Nana Jo Calloway, had passed away 5 years ago, leaving behind a modest trust she'd built quietly over 3 decades of frugal living and smart saving. At her funeral, I remembered her estate attorney briefly mentioning something about equal distribution to both granddaughters. My parents had handled all of the paperwork afterward. I had been too consumed with grief to ask a single question. I had trusted them completely. Maybe now, finally, they were ready to make it right. I should have known better. Walter Ingram's office sat in a converted Victorian building near the historic district. I arrived 10 minutes early, my hands cold despite the warm Charleston morning. The receptionist barely glanced up. Calloway family, conference room B. They're already inside. Already inside. Of course they were. Through the glass panel of the conference room door, I could see all 3 of them, my parents and Camille, sitting around a polished mahogany table, laughing at something the attorney had said, coffee cups arranged neatly in front of them, a thick stack of documents at the center. No one had waited for me. I opened the door, 4 heads turned. Rissa, you made it, my dad said. Not good to see you, not thanks for coming, just a flat statement of fact. Hi, Dad, Mom, Camille. My mother nodded once. Camille offered a small smile that never reached her eyes.
Walter Ingram stood, extending his hand. Ms. Calloway, please, have a seat. He gestured toward the chair at the far end of the table, the one farthest from everyone else. I sat. In front of my parents and Camille were neat manila folders, clearly prepared in advance. In front of my chair, nothing. Empty table. Would you like some coffee? The attorney asked. No, thank you. He settled back into his chair and adjusted his reading glasses. My mother and Camille exchanged a glance I couldn't quite decode. My father stared down at his folder, silent as always. The room felt cold, despite the warm hum of the heating vent overhead. Thank you all for coming, Walter Ingram began. We are here today to finalize the distribution of the family assets, per the request of Daniel and Patricia Calloway. He glanced at my parents, who both nodded. My stomach tightened. Let's begin, he continued, reading from the document in front of him. The family residence at 214 Rutledge Avenue, valued at approximately $1.1 million, will be transferred in full to Camille Calloway. I blinked. That was the house I had grown up in, the house Nana Jo had lived in with us during her final years. The business, Calloway Heritage Furniture, including all inventory, equipment, and existing client contracts, will also be transferred to Camille Calloway. Camille reached for her coffee cup, her expression carefully arranged into neutrality. Additionally, the Calloway Family Trust Fund, currently valued at $800,000, will be placed under Camille's sole management and ownership. The room seemed to tilt. I gripped the edge of the table. Ingram turned the page. And for Marissa Calloway, he paused, scanning the document. No assets have been designated at this time. The silence that followed was deafening. I found my voice, though it came out much smaller than I intended. I'm sorry, what? My mother spoke before the attorney could. Rissa, we've discussed this carefully as a family. This is what makes the most sense. I wasn't part of that discussion. Camille has been here, my father said, quietly, still not meeting my eyes. She's helped with the business. She's been present. And I haven't been? My voice cracked slightly. My mother sighed. You chose to leave, Rissa. You chose your own path. Camille chose family. I felt my hands go cold. I looked at each of them, searching for something, hesitation, guilt, anything. Mom, I didn't choose to leave. I went to college. I built a career. You left when we needed you here, my mother said, her tone firm. Camille stayed and sacrificed. She's earned this. Earned what? Everything? Camille finally spoke. Rissa, you have a good job. You're stable. You don't need this. That's not the point, I said, my voice shaking now, and I hated that it was. This isn't about need, it's about fairness, about family. Family is about showing up, my mother cut in. You've always been difficult, Rissa, always questioning everything, always making things complicated. The word hit me like a slap. Difficult? I'm difficult because I went to college, because I built my own life? You're difficult because you only think about yourself, my mother continued. When we needed help, you were in Atlanta. When the shop was struggling, you were busy with your career. Camille was here, working beside us every single day. My father nodded slowly. Your sister has proven herself, Rissa. We need someone dependable. Dependable, as though I hadn't shown up every single time they actually asked. I thought about the student loans I paid off alone, the graduation ceremony they never attended, the Thanksgiving I worked a double shift just to afford the plane ticket home, only to spend the entire dinner hearing about Camille's accomplishments. We think you'll understand eventually, my mother added, her voice softening into something almost condescending. This is what's best for everyone. I looked at Camille. Do you have anything to say? She stared into her coffee cup. I think Mom and Dad have made the right decision. No defense, no protest, nothing. I stood up. Walter Ingram looked startled. Ms. Calloway, would you like to review the documents? You have the right to. No, thank you, I said quietly. I understand perfectly. My mother frowned. Rissa, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, Mom. I'm just leaving. I picked up my purse and turned to Camille one final time. Congratulations. I hope it all works out for you. Not bitter, not angry, just clear. Her eyes widened slightly. Rissa, I mean it, I said. My father stood. You're acting like we've wronged you. This is a practical decision. The business needs continuity, and Camille has everything it takes. I get it, Dad. I looked at my mother one final time. She watched me with an expression I couldn't quite name, part irritation, part confusion, as though I wasn't reacting the way she'd expected. You're being childish, she said. Maybe. I walked toward the door, then paused, one hand on the handle. Just out of curiosity, what happened to Nana Joe's trust fund? She left one specifically for me and Camille, equal shares. I remember that from the funeral. The room went very still. My mother's face hardened. That money went toward family expenses, the house, the business, things that benefited everyone, including you. It benefited the family, she repeated. I nodded slowly. Right, the family. I opened the door and walked out without looking back. I sat in my rental car in the parking lot for nearly 20 minutes before I trusted myself to drive. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. "You're overreacting. Call me when you calm down." I flipped the phone face down. On the drive to the airport, one detail kept nagging me. My mother's words, "That money went toward family expenses," didn't match what I remembered from Nana Joe's funeral 5 years earlier. I'd been 28 then, still grinding through student loan payments, still trying to prove myself to a family that never seemed satisfied. Nana Joe had pulled me aside at her 84th birthday party, 2 months before she passed. "I've set up a trust for you and Camille," she'd told me, holding my hand tightly. "Equal shares. I want you both to have security." "Nana, you don't have to." "It's already done, sweetheart. My lawyer has everything arranged. $400,000 total, 200 each. I'd hugged her, tears in my eyes. "Thank you." "Use it wisely, Rissa. You're smart. I'm proud of you." At the funeral, her estate attorney, a woman named Renata Ford, not Walter Ingram, had briefly mentioned the trust. My parents had insisted on handling the details since I needed to fly back to Atlanta for work. I'd never seen a single document, never received a single dollar, and I never asked. By the time I landed back in Atlanta, a plan had already begun forming quietly in the back of my mind. When I got home, I would dig through my old emails. Renata Ford had sent me something years earlier, a courtesy copy maybe, that I'd barely glanced at during the fog of grief. But I had saved it. I save everything. Before I continue, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been the one labeled difficult simply for asking your family to be fair? Drop a comment and let me know. I read every single one. And if this story is already resonating with you, do me a favor and hit subscribe on Silent Story Victory. We share a brand new real-life inspired story every day, and trust me, this one is only getting started. I got home to Atlanta close to 9 that evening, hollowed out and exhausted. I made a cup of chamomile tea I never drank, opened my laptop and searched my email archive, 12 years worth of messages, for Renata Ford. 31 results. I scrolled past birthday messages, forwarded recipes, old vacation photos. Then, dated 2 weeks after the funeral, I found it. Subject: Estate Documents. Dear Ms. Calloway, per your grandmother's instructions, please find attached a copy of her last will and testament for your records. Should you have any questions regarding the distribution of assets, please do not hesitate to contact our office. Sincerely, Renata Ford, Estate Attorney. I clicked the attachment, a 20-page PDF. My hands trembled as I scrolled through dense legal language, property disposition, personal effects, and then, on page 14, I found it. Section 6, Trust Fund Distribution. The sum of $400,000 held in trust at Palmetto National Bank shall be divided equally between my granddaughters, Marissa Ann Calloway and Camille Elizabeth Calloway, each receiving $200,000. This distribution shall occur no later than 90 days following my death. No later than 90 days. 5 years had passed. I'd never received a single cent, never received a phone call, never received as much as a letter explaining where the money had gone. I read the paragraph 3 more times, then printed the entire document, labeled the folder Nana's Will, and placed it carefully in my desk drawer. Then I closed my laptop and sat quietly in the dark.
2 weeks after the lawyer's office, Camille posted on social media. I was sipping coffee before work when the notification popped up on my phone. She'd tagged me in a photo, standing in front of our childhood home, holding a glass of champagne. The caption read, "Officially mine. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for trusting me with our family legacy. Family is everything." 68 likes already. Comments poured in.
So happy for you. You deserve it. Beautiful home, beautiful person. Our Aunt Deborah commented, your grandmother would be so proud. I stared at that line for a long time. My phone buzzed with a private message from Hannah, a girl I'd known in high school. Hey Rissa, I saw Camille's post. Did your parents give her the house? Are you okay? I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, I'm fine. Family dynamics are complicated. Happy for her. Over the following week, Camille posted 6 more times, a photo of her new office at the shop, a picture of paperwork labeled Callaway Family Trust, a selfie with our parents captioned, grateful for their guidance and faith in me. Not one mention of me, not in the photos, not in the captions, not in the comments. My mother shared every single post, adding her own remarks, so proud of my Camille. I didn't unfollow, I didn't comment, I didn't react, but I did screenshot everything, not because I planned to do anything with it, just because I needed proof that this was real, that I wasn't imagining the casual cruelty of being erased from my own family story. 1 month after the meeting, my mother threw a celebration party. I found out about it the same way everyone else did, Instagram. Camille posted a video, string lights strung across the backyard, tables covered in food, at least 30 guests laughing and mingling, a banner strung across the porch that read, "Congratulations, Camille, new owner." I watched the video 3 times. There was my father raising a glass, my mother beaming beside Camille, cousins I'd grown up with, my Uncle Ray, even Hannah's mother, who had always been kind to me, everyone we knew. No one had told me. My cousin Priya commented, wait, was Rissa there? I didn't see her. Camille replied, she's busy with work in Atlanta, couldn't make it. I stared at that lie for a long time, as though I had been invited and simply declined. My mother never corrected her. I sat on my couch in Atlanta, 300 miles away, watching my family celebrate my official removal from their lives. My phone stayed silent all night. No text, no call, no wish you could be here. I turned off my phone and went to bed. 3 months after the lawyer's office, Camille called me. It was a Tuesday morning and I was in the middle of reviewing a client's quarterly reports when her name lit up my screen. We hadn't spoken since I walked out of Ingram's office. I almost didn't answer. Hello, Rissa? Hi, it's Camille. I know. A pause. How are you? I'm fine. What do you need? She laughed awkwardly. Straight to the point, huh? Look, I need to ask you something. It's kind of urgent. I waited. The roof needs a new roof. The inspector says it can't wait. There's water damage. I need to borrow $15,000. I blinked. You need to borrow $15,000 from me? Just temporarily. I'll pay you back in 3 months. Camille, you have an $800,000 trust fund. Silence. Camille, the it's tied up right now. I made some investments, really good ones, but they're not liquid at the moment. What kind of investments? That's not really your concern, Rissa. My jaw tightened. You're asking to borrow $15,000 but won't tell me why you can't access your own money? I'm asking because you're my sister and I need help. Her voice had an edge to it now. The roof is leaking. Do you want Mom and Dad's house to fall apart? Mom and Dad's house? I thought it was your house now. You know what I mean. I took a breath. Camille, I don't have $15,000 to lend you. Yes, you do. You're an accountant. You make good money. I also have my own expenses, my own life. You've always been selfish, Rissa. You know that. The line was so familiar it almost made me laugh. I'll remember you said that, I told her. Good luck with the roof. I hung up. 4 months after the meeting, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Marissa Callaway? Yes, who's calling? My name is Renata Ford. I'm an estate attorney. I represent the Josephine Halloway estate. I sat up straighter. Nana Joe's attorney. I'm calling because we're conducting an audit of the trust distribution following your grandmother's death. According to our records, you were designated to receive $200,000 from the trust. Can you confirm whether you've received those funds? My heart began pounding.
No, I never received anything. A long pause. Nothing at all? No check, no wire transfer, no correspondence from our office or the bank? Nothing. My parents told me the money went toward family expenses. I heard typing on the other end. Ms. Calloway, according to the trust documents, that money was specifically designated for you and your sister individually. It was never meant for general family use. I have a copy of the will. I printed it from the email you sent me 5 years ago. Good, hold on to that. More typing. I need to ask, did you ever sign any documents releasing your claim to those funds? No, I was never asked to sign anything. Did anyone contact you at all about the distribution? No, just my parents saying they'd handled everything. Renata Ford was quiet for a moment. This is concerning. According to our records, the full amount was transferred to your father's account as trustee with explicit instructions to distribute it to both granddaughters within 90 days. That was 5 years ago. What does that mean? It means I need to contact your family's attorney and your parents immediately. Something here is very wrong. She called back 3 days later. Ms. Calloway, I've reviewed the trust distribution records. I need you to email me that copy of the will you mentioned. I sent it immediately. Perfect, she said. This confirms exactly what I suspected. Your grandmother's will explicitly states equal distribution to you and Camille. Your parents had no legal authority to redirect your portion. What happens now? I'll be contacting your parents and their attorney. We'll need to resolve this formally. There may also be some additional complications. What kind of complications? She hesitated. I've noticed some irregular activity connected to the portion of the trust that was transferred to Camille. Large withdrawals, transfers to unfamiliar accounts. It's possible there are tax implications or other legal issues. I can't say more until I investigate further. My stomach dropped. Camille's evasive words echoed in my mind. The money's tied up in investments. Ms. Calloway, I want to be clear. You've done nothing wrong. You appear to be the victim of misappropriated estate funds. My job now is to make sure you receive what your grandmother intended for you. Do I need to do anything? Not yet. I'll handle the legal outreach, but I need your permission to proceed on your behalf. You have it. One more thing, she added. Please don't discuss this with your family yet. If there are legal issues developing, I don't want anyone tampering with evidence or moving assets around. I understand. After we hung up, I sat at my desk staring at nothing. I hadn't wanted a fight. I hadn't wanted revenge. I just wanted the truth. Now the truth was coming, whether my family was ready for it or not, and something told me Camille's investments were about to become everyone's problem. Let me pause here for a second. If you're still with me, I want to know, have you ever discovered a truth about your own family that changed everything you thought you knew? Drop it in the comments below. I promise I read them all. And if this story has you hooked, make sure Silent Story Victory is on your subscription list. We drop a brand new story just like this one every single day. 6 months after the lawyer's office, everything came apart at once. I was in a client meeting, phone face down on the table, when I felt it start buzzing, once, twice, 3 times in a row. I ignored it. The client was explaining a budget concern for the coming quarter, and I needed to stay focused, but the buzzing wouldn't stop. When the meeting finally ended an hour later, I picked up my phone and froze. 47 missed calls, 12 from my mother, 6 from my father, 29 from Camille. 23 text messages. The most recent from my mother, sent 2 minutes ago. Rissa, answer your phone. Emergency. My hands shook as I scrolled through the messages.
Call me now. Rissa, please. This is serious. Why aren't you answering? Pick up. This is urgent. We need you to call us immediately. The last text from Camille sent 60 seconds earlier. The FBI is here. Call me. My heart stopped. I stepped into an empty office and called my mother back. She answered on the first ring. Rissa, oh my God, finally. Mom, what's happening? She was crying, actual gasping sobs. They're here. The FBI is at Camille's house right now. They came with a warrant. They're taking computers, files, everything. What? Why? They're saying something about wire fraud, money laundering. Rissa, what did Camille do with that trust fund money? I gripped the edge of the desk. Mom, I didn't touch that money. I never received any of it. But Camille said, my mother's voice broke. She said you reported her for something. She said this is your fault. Mom, I didn't report anyone, I said slowly. I don't even know what's happening. They're questioning her right now. They showed her documents, transactions, account numbers. Rissa, they think she stole money from who? I don't know. My mother was hyperventilating. They mentioned fraud, international transfers, some kind of investment scheme. Your father's been trying to reach his lawyer, but no one's answering. I heard shouting in the background, my father's voice, angry and desperate. Rissa, you have to help. You're an accountant. You understand these things. Tell them Camille didn't know. Mom, stop, I said, my voice firmer than I'd ever used with her. I can't help with this. I don't know anything about Camille's finances. But you work with financial investigators, don't you? No, Mom. I do tax accounting. That's completely different. Well, you have to do something. She's your sister. I'm not involved in this. There was a crash in the background, something heavy falling. My mother screamed, Mom, what's happening? They're taking everything. The computers from the office, the filing cabinets. Rissa, they're treating her like a criminal. My father's voice came through, distant but clear. Patricia, get off the phone. The lawyer said not to talk to anyone. Then, this is our daughter. My mother shrieked back, then returned to me. Rissa, please, please help us. We don't know what to do. I closed my eyes. Mom, you need a criminal defense attorney, not a family lawyer, a criminal attorney. Criminal? She started sobbing harder. My baby girl isn't a criminal. Then she'll need a lawyer to prove that. How can you be so cold? I didn't have an answer. I hung up and immediately searched the local news. The first result had been posted 20 minutes earlier. FBI executes search warrant at Charleston residence in connection to financial fraud investigation. Federal agents executed a search warrant Friday morning at a residence in the Charleston area as part of an ongoing investigation into alleged wire fraud and money laundering. Sources indicate the investigation involves ties to an international investment scheme that frauded victims of millions of dollars. The homeowner, whose identity has not yet been released pending charges, allegedly transferred over $550,000 into accounts linked to the scheme. Authorities are investigating whether the individual knowingly participated or was herself also a victim. $550,000. The trust fund had been $800,000. Camille had clearly spent or transferred most of it. I called Renata Ford immediately. Ms. Calloway, I was just about to call you. Are you aware of what's happening with your sister? My mother just called me in a panic. I want to know, am I involved in any way? I want to assure you that you are not. The FBI contacted my office yesterday to verify your portion of the trust. I confirmed you never received your funds and you've been cleared from the investigation entirely. Relief flooded through me. What happened? What did Camille do? From what I understand, she was approached by an investment group promising extraordinarily high returns. She transferred a substantial amount of the trust into their accounts. It turned out the group was a front for an international investment fraud operation, one that used new investor money to pay out earlier investors and funneled the rest overseas. Did she know it was fraud? That's exactly what they're investigating. If she genuinely didn't know, she may be considered a victim. If she ignored warning signs or actively helped move funds for the operation, she could face serious federal charges. I thought about Camille's evasiveness when she'd asked to borrow money. The money's tied up in investments. How bad is this? Very. That night, Camille called me. Her voice was raw, like she'd been crying for hours. Rissa, please, I need your help. I didn't know, Camille. Okay, I didn't know it was fake. This guy, he was so professional. He had documents, references, everything looked completely legitimate. What guy?
His name was Derek Wexler. He said he ran a private investment fund. He showed me portfolios, past returns, everything. He said I could triple my money in 18 months. I closed my eyes. Did you verify any of it? He had a website, an office, other investors who vouched for him. Did you check with the SEC? Did you talk to a licensed financial advisor? Silence. Camille, you moved $550,000 without doing any due diligence? I trusted him, she shouted. Then, softer, I thought I was being smart. I thought I was growing the family's wealth. That wasn't family wealth. Half of it was mine. I was going to tell you after it doubled. I was going to give you your share and more. That's not how any of this works. She started crying again. They're saying I could go to prison, Rissa. The agent said if I cooperate, I might avoid charges, but I need a lawyer, and lawyers are expensive, and Her voice cracked. You're an accountant. You understand this stuff. Can you come here? Can you help explain to the FBI that I didn't know, that I'm not a criminal? Camille, I can't do that. Why not? You're my sister. Because I don't know if you're telling the truth. The line went silent. My father called the next morning. Rissa, we need to talk about what you're going to tell the FBI. I'm not telling them anything, Dad. I'm not involved. You could help. You could vouch for Camille's character. Dad, character references don't matter in fraud investigations. They care about evidence. Then help us find evidence. Go through the documents. You're trained for this. I'm an accountant, not a criminal defense investigator. His voice hardened. Why are you being so stubborn? I'm not being stubborn. I'm protecting myself. From what? From your own family? From legal liability, I said, keeping my voice calm. Dad, if I get involved and say the wrong thing, I could be called as a witness. I could be subpoenaed. This is serious. Your sister is facing prison. I know, and I'm sorry. But 3 years ago, I warned you both about the financial irregularities in the business. I told you something was off. Do you remember what Mom said? Silence. She said I was paranoid. She said I was making things complicated. You both shut me down. That was different. It wasn't different, Dad. You didn't want to hear it then, and now you want my help, after you gave Camille everything and left me with nothing. We gave her responsibility. That's not the same as giving her my inheritance too, Dad. Nana's money was supposed to be split equally. You let Camille take it all and use it however she wanted. Now it's gone, and you're surprised? We thought we were doing the right thing. For who? He didn't answer. I'm sorry this is happening. I really am. But I can't fix it. Camille made her choices. Now she has to face the consequences. My father's voice went cold. You've become very hard, Rissa. No, Dad, I've become honest. He hung up. I need to pause once more and ask you something. Do you think I should have helped them? Is there ever a point where forgiveness turns into letting people take advantage of you? Leave your honest thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to read what you think. And if this story is resonating with you, please make sure you're subscribed to Silent Story Victory. We're almost at the ending, and trust me, you'll want to hear how this all turns out. That evening, I sat down and wrote an email. I chose every word with precision. This wasn't about anger, it was about clarity. To Daniel Calloway, Patricia Calloway, Camille Calloway. Subject, my position. Mom, Dad, and Camille, I want to be very clear about my role in the current situation. I am not involved in any way with Camille's financial decisions or the investigation surrounding them. I have not reported anyone to any authority. I have simply provided truthful information to estate attorneys about my grandmother's will when they contacted me directly. I understand this is an incredibly difficult time for all of you. I am genuinely sorry that Camille is facing legal trouble. I don't wish harm on anyone in this family. However, I cannot and will not involve myself in this case. I am not qualified to assist with criminal defense matters, and doing so would put me at unnecessary legal risk.
3 years ago, I tried to warn you about financial irregularities. I was dismissed. I tried to be part of this family's decisions. I was excluded. I am not trying to punish anyone now. I am simply protecting myself and respecting the boundaries you set when you decided I wasn't part of this family's future. I hope you find a good attorney. I hope Camille cooperates fully with the investigation. I hope this resolves as fairly as it possibly can, but I will not be participating. I wish you all the best. Marissa. I read it 3 times, then hit send. My mother replied within 5 minutes, "You're heartless." My father didn't reply at all. Camille wrote, "I'll never forgive you for this." I closed my laptop and didn't respond to any of them. I had said everything I needed to say. 2 months later, the news broke publicly. Local business owner charged in connection to investment fraud scheme. Camille Calloway, 37, of Charleston, had been charged with 1 count of participating in a fraudulent financial scheme. Prosecutors alleged she'd transferred over $500,000 into accounts linked to an international fraud operation. Camille's attorney maintained she had been a victim of the scheme and had cooperated fully with investigators. As part of a plea agreement, she would avoid prison time but was ordered to pay $175,000 in fines, complete 400 hours of community service, and would be permanently barred from managing investment accounts. The family business and the family home were both listed for sale to cover legal fees and restitution. I read the article 3 times. No prison, that was something. But Camille's life as she'd known it was effectively over. The shop my father had built over 3 decades, gone. The house I grew up in, gone. The trust fund Nana Jo had carefully built, gone. And our family's reputation in a town where everyone knew everyone, shattered. I searched social media and found that Camille had deleted her account entirely. My mother's profile was still active, but had been set to private. Every celebratory post from the party was gone. My inbox had 1 new message, from my Aunt Deborah. I always knew something was off. "I'm sorry you got cut out, Rissa. You deserved better." I didn't reply. I wasn't celebrating. I felt no satisfaction, no vindication, just a deep, aching sadness that it had all come to this. My family had made their choices. They'd decided who mattered and who didn't. That wasn't my fault. It wasn't my responsibility to fix. But even though I had been right all along, I still lost my family. 3 weeks after Camille's sentencing, Renata Ford called again. "Ms. Calloway, I have good news. The court has approved the redistribution of your grandmother's estate according to the original will." My heart skipped. What does that mean? It means you'll receive your designated portion, $200,000. Unfortunately, since Camille spent a significant amount before the accounts were frozen, we could only recover half of the original trust, but your half is intact. $200,000, money I should have received 5 years earlier, money that could have paid off my student loans years ago, helped me buy a home sooner, given me security when I needed it most. There's one more thing, Renata added. You have the legal right to sue your parents and Camille for the full amount, plus interest and damages. Given the circumstances, you would very likely win. I stared out my apartment window at the Atlanta skyline. How long would that take? 2 to 3 years, possibly longer if they contest it. And how much would I actually recover? Hard to say. They're selling assets now just to cover Camille's fines and legal fees. There may not be much left. I thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. I don't want to sue. Ms. Calloway, you're entitled to... I know, but I don't want to spend the next 3 years fighting them in court. I just want what Nana Jo meant for me to have, the $200,000. That's enough. Renata was quiet for a moment. You're sure? I'm sure. All right, I'll process the paperwork. You should receive the funds within 30 days. Thank you, Miss Ford, for everything. You're welcome, Marissa. Your grandmother would be proud of how you handled this. I hope she's right. The money arrived in my account on a Thursday morning in early autumn. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the number on my screen, $200,000. I waited for something, relief, joy, vindication. Instead, I just felt tired.
My phone buzzed, a text from my mother, the first message in nearly 2 months. "I see you got the money. I hope you're happy now." Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "We were wrong." Not, "We should have treated you fairly from the start." Just accusation. Just bitterness. I didn't reply. Camille never contacted me at all. My father sent a single text 3 days later. "Your mother is very hurt. I hope you know that." Again, I didn't reply. But my cousin Priya reached out. "Hey Rissa, I heard what happened. I always thought it was unfair how they treated you. I'm glad you got what Nana left you. You deserved it." That message made me cry more than anything else had in months. A week later, Hannah, my friend from high school, texted, "I don't know the whole story, but I know your family hasn't been fair to you for years. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. That takes guts." I realized something then. The people who truly cared about me, who saw me clearly, had been on the sidelines all along. They'd witnessed the quiet cruelty, the constant dismissiveness, the way I was always made to feel like I wasn't quite enough. And now they were telling me what my parents never would: "You deserved better." I didn't need my family's apology. I needed my own peace. And for the first time in months, sitting in my small apartment surrounded by those kind messages, I felt something close to it. I spent 2 weeks carefully thinking through what to do with the money. The first thing I did was pay off my remaining student loans, $38,000. I clicked Pay in Full and watched the balance drop to zero. For the first time since I was 22 years old, I owed nothing to anyone. Next, I put a down payment on a small 1-bedroom condo in a quiet Atlanta neighborhood. Nothing extravagant, just a place that was entirely mine, a place no one could ever take from me. Then I did something that felt right in a way I couldn't fully put into words. I contacted the University of Georgia and set up a scholarship in my grandmother's name, the Josephine Callaway Scholarship for first-generation college students. $40,000, enough to provide $4,000 annually to 10 students, like me, who were doing it alone. Students whose families couldn't or wouldn't help. Students who needed someone to believe in them. The rest, a little over $100,000, I put in savings, not for anything specific, just for security, for breathing room, for the future. I didn't buy a new car, I didn't go on an extravagant vacation, I didn't post a single word about it online. Instead, I sat at my new kitchen table in my new condo, drinking tea and watching the city lights, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: freedom. That night, I wrote a letter I never sent. "Dear Nana Joe, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for seeing me as someone worthy of investment, even when my own parents didn't. I'm using your gift wisely, not just for myself, but to help others the way you helped me. I miss you, I love you, and I promise to make you proud." I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. 6 months after moving into my condo, I sat by the window on a quiet Saturday morning and thought back to that day in the lawyer's office, the day my parents handed my sister everything and called me difficult, the day I smiled and simply walked away. I used to think that moment was my lowest point, the ultimate rejection. Now I understand it was actually the beginning of my freedom, because walking away from that table meant I stopped waiting for them to recognize my worth. I stopped trying to earn their approval. I stopped shrinking myself to fit into a family that had no real space for me. Had I wanted things to be different? Of course. Did I wish my parents had loved Camille and me equally, every day? But wishing doesn't change reality, and reality was this: my family had made their choices long ago about who mattered and who didn't. That wasn't my fault. It wasn't my responsibility to fix. And certainly it wasn't my job to set myself on fire just to keep them warm, when they had never once offered me a single match.
Some people might think I should have helped Camille when she got into trouble, that family means showing up no matter what. But I learned something important along the way. Love without respect isn't love. It's exploitation, and boundaries aren't cruelty. They're self-preservation. I didn't win, not really. I didn't get my family back, I didn't get an apology, I didn't get validation, but I got something better. I got myself back, the version of me whose sense of value doesn't come from other people's approval, the version who can sit alone in a quiet room and feel completely at peace. That's not winning in the dramatic, cinematic way movies show it, but it's the only kind of winning that actually matters. If there's one thing I want you to take from this story, it's this. Boundaries are not mean. They are not selfish. They are not evidence that you don't love someone. Boundaries are simply the way you teach people how to treat you. For years, I accepted being treated as less than because I believed that's what family required. I thought if I just kept showing up, kept being patient, kept proving myself, eventually they would see me. But people who don't want to see you never will, and that isn't your failure, it's theirs. I didn't report my sister, I didn't sabotage my family, I didn't seek revenge. I simply stopped protecting them from themselves. And when the truth finally came out, when Camille's choices caught up with her, when my parents' favoritism left them with almost nothing, I didn't celebrate, but I also didn't rush in to fix it, because fixing it would have required betraying myself all over again, and I was done doing that. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. You decide who gets to walk through. You decide what behavior you'll accept and what you won't. You decide when enough is finally enough. And if people call you difficult for having standards, let them. Their opinion of you was never your responsibility. Your peace is. I chose peace, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. Last month, something unexpected happened. I was making coffee on a Sunday morning when an email arrived. Sender, Camille Calloway. Subject line, blank. I stared at it for a long time. My finger hovered over the delete button, then over the open button. I chose neither. Instead, I moved it into a folder labeled Later and closed my laptop. Maybe one day I'll read it. Maybe I'll find out she's finally ready to take accountability, to apologize, to acknowledge what happened. Maybe the email says she's sorry, or maybe it still blames me. I don't know. And right now, I don't need to know, because I've built a life I'm genuinely proud of, a life where I wake up without dread, where I make my own choices, where I'm not constantly trying to prove I'm worth something to people who already decided I'm not. I have friends who truly see me, a job I'm good at, a home that's entirely mine. I have peace, and that peace doesn't depend on whether my family ever understands what they did to me. It doesn't depend on whether they ever apologize or change or suddenly realize I deserved better. It's simply mine. Someday, maybe next month, maybe next year, I might finally open that email. But today, I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing the version of me who understands that walking away wasn't giving up, it was growing up. And if my family ever wants to be part of my life again, they'll have to meet me where I am now, not where I used to be, small, accommodating, desperate for their approval, but here, strong, boundaried, free. For the first time in my life, I'm not waiting for anyone's permission to be okay. I already am. The moral I got: family favoritism can make you believe that fairness makes you difficult and that walking away makes you cold. But real strength is choosing peace over approval, boundaries over guilt, and your own worth over someone else's applause. Karma doesn't always need your help to arrive. Sometimes it just needs your patience while you build a life that no longer depends on those who overlooked you. If this story touched something in you, if you've ever been the overlooked daughter, the difficult one, the sibling who did everything right and still came up empty-handed, I want to hear your story in the comments below. Your voice matters here. Don't forget to subscribe to Silent Story Victory so you never miss a new, real-life inspired story about family, boundaries, karma, and quiet victories. We post a brand new one every single day. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, remember, you deserve to be treated with respect, always.